And we're back on Southeast Texas Weekly. This matter of the Keystone Pipeline has got some of our dear friends all wound up, and they want to talk about this issue as well. Jeff Lewis here on the Republican side, activist. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Great to have you with us. Also, Godfrey Leggett, Democratic activist here, and of course, Richard Rosario, Democratic activist, Lamar University student extraordinaire. And actually, by the way, you've studied in depth this matter of fracking in the state of Texas and potential implications for our ecology as it may relate to these big issues like the Keystone Pipeline. What say you about this matter of just building the northern leg of the Keystone Pipeline and getting to work? I know we're on several issues there. Well, start with fracking if you like first.
Well, with fracking, Texas has increased its productivity in the past 7 years by 60%.
Yeah.
So now we're one of the leading in producing oil. And the thing is, we have so much oil that we can actually start exporting it in the future. But right now we have a ban on exporting oil other than whatever treaties we have with Canada. Mm-hmm. So the producers want to eliminate the ban and lift the ban on exporting. But the refineries, such as the one we have here, they want to keep that oil here because it'll be cheaper for the refineries to use domestic oil as opposed to having to compete against foreign ones.
Well, in that context,
yes.
I guess the question becomes, if you build a Keystone Pipeline, you're going to have even more oil in Texas.
It's only about 450,000 barrels a day, right?
Yes. So it just depends how much, because we can actually outproduce what the Keystone Pipeline would be giving us. Mm-hmm. Also, the Keystone Pipeline is using it's sand tar oil, so it's not as clean as what we're getting from here in Texas.
Yeah, but I guess to the point that we'll just have, we talked about the Cushing, Oklahoma bottleneck with so much crude, so much oil there. Are we going to get to a place where supply and demand are not going to work out if we get this pipeline going and we get even more crude oil refined in Texas, most notably here in Southeast Texas, with no real place to go with it? That's got to drive your prices down dramatically eventually. And I guess the big question just becomes, this northern leg. Are you satisfied that ecological concerns are being satisfied? Are you satisfied that the ecology in Nebraska, in particular, would allow for a pipeline to be there?
Well, business-wise, it'd be a good decision to go ahead and do the Keystone Pipeline. Ecology-wise, I mean, since it is going through private property, you'd have to take into consideration, because the judge did rule that because of the private property, it was those people's rights. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on how you outlay it.
The judge says the judge says, Mr. Nebraska Governor, it wasn't your choice to make.
Yeah, well, that's a sideshow argument. And really, the pipeline has never been the concern of the environmentalists. We have pipelines all over the country. Mm-hmm. And in the last 20 years, a very minuscule amount of oil has ever spilled out of all those pipelines. Mm-hmm. The problem is up in Canada, where we're raping the earth and polluting the river up there, and this is dirty oil. Like he says, it's going to require more carbon footprint to process it than the better oil we can get out of the shale. But
Jeff Lewis, why do Republicans rape the earth when they get into their energy policy?
Well, it seems like every other election year we're being accused of rape of some kind. So I mean, we're kind of used to this.
Well, it is a mess up there, Jeff.
Look. I'll have to say that the average guy watching this show today doesn't really care about the term carbon footprint. He don't care about toxic stew. He ain't worried about any of that. He's worried about the fact that this is going to bring a whole lot of jobs down here. It's going to take a lot of Southeast Texans to help build this sucker, and it's going to do a lot of good for our economy. And I'm tired of hearing Democrats that don't really care about the jobs, and they care a whole lot about where some squirrel is going to be damaged in South Carolina or Washington State. It don't really matter what we're worried about here. The EPA is going to overregulate as much as they can. We can accept that fact. You guys live out here. You know how this works. Okay?
Does the EPA overregulate?
Did they overregulate up in Kentucky where they had that chemical spill up there? Did they overregulate there? No.
No, actually,
underregulated.
No, actually, it's not much a matter of underregulating. That's a matter of, and you're distracting the issue, but it's not a matter of underregulating at that point. It's a matter of the regulations not being enforced. Okay. So when you have a whole bunch of regulations but you don't enforce them, they might as well not be on the books. Okay. properly enforced, Republicans have been saying for a long time on this. We were having this debate back when Rick Perry was running. Okay, enforce the regulations you have. You don't need to write more regulations.
Well,
to
let's not do away
overcome
with the
that.
EPA, which is what some
I didn't say-
Republicans.
I didn't say do away with
Some
the EPA.
Republicans would like to do away with the EPA.
Yeah, there's
it's
some
a
out there.
job-killing organization, they say.
Well,
Baloney.
yeah, I have to say, in that Kensett does agree because we're seeing what's happening to Keystone Pipeline. Now, in the end, does it really matter what the EPA says? No, in the end, it's going to come down to whether or not we, as a will of the country, want to proceed, as Michael Lindsay said, proceed forward with a comprehensive energy policy. Okay.
Well, that would be a good idea. I agree with that, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Richard
Yes, I
agrees
also agree with that. But also,
Well-
the economic boom that would be coming, you just make it sound like it's the biggest boom and you're going
No,
to
it's
save
not.
everyone, but it's not. It's not that
No,
many
but-
jobs.
but when-
it is not
but
that
when down
much
in
of a
Port
boom in
Arthur
the
in
How
business.
many
27
welders do you think it takes to make that pipeline, Jeff?
When down in Port Arthur, we have 20%, 27% unemployment among African American males. Okay, that's a problem. Okay,
Yeah,
we
there's a
want to
problem.
address that problem. There's
So-
people out there can go to work that cannot get a job right now.
There's
They have a
definitely
construction
a
job that they
common
can
If
use
the
right now.
pipeline gets built, how many more people is Valero going to hire to process that oil?
You're not going to
We've,
solve
we've
the
heard
27%
we've
with
had
just
we've
the
heard
Keystone
different numbers on
pipeline.
that. Hey, I am all about whether where we export it or
Yeah.
we just process it here, ship it off, or where we use it for domestic production. It's a very good thing to have because we're on the receiving end of these benefits.
We need
We'll
to change
continue
our
the
ways.
conversation right after this.